This drives me crazy. There seems to be this obsession with having a female character end up pregnant or with a baby at the end of shows.
No!
Hurry, it's only a couple of hours.
So is childbirth, but I don't want to do that on Thursday either.
Hi, I'm Hannah, the Wife Without Kids. This channel is all about building a positive and non-judgmental community to support you in your child-free life. It is no secret that child-free people are not portrayed in movies and TV shows nearly as often as parents and kids are.
That's not fair.
Approximately 20% of adults in the US will never have kids, so that is a significant number of individuals that are not being represented in movies or TV shows. Or if they are being represented, they're being significantly underrepresented.
Giddy up.
Media can have a really big influence on the decisions that people make in their lives.
Does you regret this no baby plan of yours?
You know, it's pretty crappy of you to make me feel bad about this.
And while we know that most of the characters and storylines that we are watching in TV shows and movies are not real, they do still have an influence over us. Now, there are obviously some portrayals of child-free individuals in movies and TV shows, so I'm not saying that there are absolutely none, but they are fairly slim.
Elaine, you gotta have a baby.
And sometimes the child-free characters are just kind of difficult to relate to or to actually find likable. And for the shows that have represented child-free people in a positive way, I'm saying thank you right now. It is very much appreciated. There's some things that I've noticed about the way that child-free characters are portrayed in shows. If there is a character and they are child-free at the beginning of the series or movie, more than likely at the end, they will not be child-free anymore. Let me know down in the comments below if you can think of a TV show or a movie that has done this. Two that come to mind are Big Bang Theory with Penny and King of Queens with Carrie.
Maybe I don't want kids.
Are you crazy? Of course you want them. It's amazing.
This drives me crazy. There seems to be this obsession with having a female character end up pregnant or with a baby at the end of shows. Why?
I'm pregnant, Sheldon.
How many times have you watched a movie that ends with the Hollywood happily ever after, where the main character ends up finding the love of their life, they get married, and there's a baby on the way, even though the character hasn't wanted children the entire movie?
Or I don't want them, so I won't have them, so back off.
It's almost like a show can't be complete if people aren't attached to someone else and don't have offspring on the way. What is wrong with just leaving the character unmarried? What if they just stay single? And what if they don't have a baby? How about leaving the character child-free? We can just celebrate that individual's child-freeness and understand that they can still have a happy and fulfilled life without the kids.
Why is it crazy to say I might not want kids?
Oh, it's not crazy. It's just wrong.
The second thing that I've noticed, child-free characters are often not portrayed in a way that is very desirable, especially if the character is a woman. The characters of child-free individuals are often portrayed as being promiscuous, selfish, completely disinterested in family life, and often really disliking children.
I just don't like them.
They also have traits that show them never really growing up. They kind of have this like childish character attached to them. They can be very cold, unrelatable, power hungry, difficult to get along with, lonely, and of course the most popular one is that the child-free character inevitably changes their mind about being a parent and they become pregnant.
You only think you don't want kids, but once you have kids, you realize that you did want them.
If a character is portrayed as being child-free, often there will be a medical reason why the individual cannot have a child. And while I understand that it can be really tragic for individuals who want to have kids and can't have kids, the idea that an individual that chooses not to have kids should be pitied and felt sorry for just isn't realistic. And that's always followed up with the sense that they are somehow being deprived and that their life is just not going to be as good as someone who gets to be a parent.
You know, not everyone needs to have kids to be fulfilled.
Third thing I've noticed about how child-free characters are portrayed in media is this. The child-free choice does not get the same positive recognition that parenthood gets. The lifestyle choice of being child-free is often portrayed as being less valuable or very much less desirable when compared with parenthood.
I know it's scary, but you're gonna be a great mom.
I know it'd be great, but the point is I don't want to be one.
So here's kind of what I mean by that. When a character in a show gets pregnant or decides to have a child, there is suddenly this massive storyline based around pregnancy. The pregnancy starts to take up a huge aspect of the series or of the story, and it's given a lot of airtime. First, there's talk about the character actually getting pregnant. Then there's a lot of effort put into telling the other characters in the story that there is a pregnancy. And the focus soon becomes, what kind of pregnancy cravings are you having? What are we going to name the baby? Getting a new wardrobe because your body is changing. The changes that are happening in your body that are uncomfortable. And some shows even dive into the aspect of the labor and delivery part of the story.
Right, Kerry, I want you to...
Now contrast that with an individual who makes the choice to be child-free. Basically, there's usually only a couple of lines that depict the individual saying, I want to be child-free, either because 1, they haven't found a partner, 2, because they can't have a baby, or 3, because they just don't want kids. And that's usually the end of it. There's very little exploration into why someone would pick the child-free life. Almost like the topic of being child-free isn't even worth exploring because it doesn't hold much value. That a child-free individual doesn't have anything deeper or meaningful to offer because of their child-free choice. I think this really affects how people in general see the child-free choice. With so much emphasis being placed on a pregnancy story and so little emphasis being placed on a child-free story, the child-free choice is completely downplayed as being lesser than or far less desirable than a pregnancy story.
Aw, you sound just like me before I became a mom and learned what the meaning of love was.
Of course, I understand that the idea of a new baby is really exciting for most people. It's probably far more exciting than the child-free choice for the majority of the population. But not everybody wants kids. You don't want kids, and I don't want kids. And so when there's a real lack of development in a storyline for why someone picks child-free over parenthood, it comes across as being very dismissive. It makes child-free individuals feel bad, like there's something really wrong with them because they don't want to be a parent.
Are you sure?
Oh, quite.
In my opinion, this is a really missed opportunity to deep dive into exploring the child-free life and sharing why people would pick to be child-free, why it's just a better choice for some people, why it actually is a choice, and why people shouldn't feel bad if they don't have that desire to be a parent. It would be such an opportunity to show the audience that there are pros about the child-free life.
Hey, look, I know it's ridiculous for me to be bringing this up. I mean, look at me. I look like I'm in my 12th trimester here.
Let me know what shows you've enjoyed watching that portray child-free people in a positive way. And then I always wonder if there is a little bit of a financial incentive when it comes to not portraying child-free people.
No, I would never do that, no.
Most TV shows may not be overtly selling a product through product placement during their shows, but shows do sell a specific lifestyle that is going to utilize that product. And most often that product is going to be geared toward what people see as being a typical family. So one that involves adults and one that involves children. Now, of course, I still consider child-free people to be families, but that's a whole different topic. Everybody knows that having kids is very lucrative for the economy because parents tend to spend a lot of money raising their children and getting their children things. Child-free people may not really be the target audience of that specific product because number 1, it's not relatable to them, or child-free people may not have the need for that product. So maybe from a financial perspective, it doesn't make sense to target the minority when you could target the majority with a product. I'm not sure, it's just a wild thought.
Never mention this to anyone again.
So having said all of that, here's a thought. What would be wrong with creating a lot more plot lines that feature child-free people in a positive way?
Well, it's something to consider.
Yeah.
Not in a weird negative way that make them unrelatable characters. Not in a way that makes them pregnant at the end of this series because, well, that's the only way that people will be happy. And let's showcase the child-free lifestyle being just as favorable as parenthood. It would give people an understanding that child-free is a choice and it's just as valuable as parenthood is. It would be so relatable for people who just don't have a biological clock or who don't want to be parents. It would affirm people that didn't feel motherly or fatherly in any way. It would let people know that not wanting kids is 100% normal and that there were other people out there that felt the same way. It would help people that have already made the choice to be child-free to feel like they were part of an accepted community instead of feeling like they were on the outside looking in. Having more child-free characters in movies and TV shows could go far to remove some of the stigma, assumptions, and negativity that is so often associated with the child-free lifestyle. When you decide to live the child-free life, people often feel that they were at liberty to say all sorts of unkind, weird, and strange things to you. To see how I deal with negative comments in a positive way, go ahead and click the video that appears on your screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are never alone, and I will see you next week.